is wealth. Welcome to the program. My name is Raula Ishangne Edet. And to throw more light on the health talk, I have with me a nutritionist. He is by the name Dr. Lekan Olubajo. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What is healthy eating? I know it's a habit. It is necessary, that we eat to survive, we eat to live, we eat, to do a lot of things. But what is healthy eating?
Well, simply put, healthy eating just refers to the kind of diet that will ensure that you develop physically and also that you do not take in anything that is unwholesome, right? So there are two concepts there. It talks about foods that is wholesome and foods that are safe, right? And also foods that are nutritious. Now let's take them one after the other. First of all, foods that are safe. Now that means the food items are free from contaminants, either in terms of chemical contaminants or biological or microbial contaminants. Those are the two major forms of contaminants that you get. Now, the chemical contaminants are those which come from the farm, like pesticides residues, for example, or when the farmers store them and they use preservatives, okay, and they don't allow enough time for the effects to wear off before they push them to the market, so we can get food poisoning. Okay, so that's one aspect. Then the other aspect is what you're likely to get from these street foods, okay? All these ones that they hawk around, particularly, and most of them are the ones in liquid foods, for example, okay? So you think about all kinds of microbial infections like salmonella, for example, typhoid, and what have you, diarrhea, the ones that predispose to dysentery, cholera. All these are foodborne diseases, which are some of them come as a result of microbial contaminants. So as a rule, if you are not sure of the source of water, don't take anything that is liquid based. Things that they hawk on the street, so things like Zobo, like Kunu, all those kind that they bottle, those people bottle, and they are not too sure of the source of water that they use to prepare it. So be very careful, because it could be a source of microbial contaminants, right? And that would affect a person's health. I mean, you can fall sick. Then there are some that you pick up from abattoirs, for example. Maybe meat that is where you have the animal already infected with some kind of helminth, like some worms, tapeworms, and what have you. Yes, all those ones, or maybe some parts of the animal that is diseased, and then they still pass and sell off those ones. Those are areas where you can get unwholesome food, so one needs to be careful about those. But then the another aspect.
But how does one know?
So that is where, for which one? For the meat. That's where the veterinary inspectors and all that come in. Because you as a person might not, you will not know. You can't distinguish, but somebody who is trained will know how to take care of that. But usually, when you cook your food very well, thoroughly, it's enough to kill those helminths. But in a place where you have a restaurant, large turnover and all that, so many, they don't take adequate time to really cook the food as long as it should, all right, to be able to kill those microbes and microbial contaminants, and also helminths, and in terms of their seeds and what have you. So, sorry, their eggs rather. So one needs to be very, very careful. So when you get those things, clean them properly and process and heat very well before eating. Then I talked about the street foods and the fact that you don't know about the source of, and you don't even know whether how well they wash their hands before eating. Even the roasted corn that we buy, roasted corn, roasted plantain, all those fast foods by the roadside. The people that prepare them, you don't know what they've done with their hands, and it's the same hands that they use to turn the thing over and all that. So so those are areas where one needs to be careful. But the another area that people need to also watch out for is in terms of fast foods, right? And processed foods. Now, when you look at, as part of ways of making sure that foods are available, man has devised different means of processing foods just in the bid to preserve them and also ensure that we can get them at different times. So you have things like corned beef, for example, you have sausages, you have all those ones. And you have a lot of these foods in cans, okay? But the danger with many of those foods is that they have high salt content and also contain some chemicals that are meant to make the foods appealing. And if you take a lot of these over time, it can be detrimental to your health. So, as much as possible, avoid eating foods from cans, or if possible, look at the label. That's why you always have a label. Look at the label, right? It tells you the content. Anything that has a high salt content, avoid as much as possible, because over a long period of time, it can affect your heart. Okay. Then the other one is foods that are very highly processed, like refined foods, for example. So you have, I call them the white foods, in quotes, white, because by the time you feel usually they are whitish. So you have your white bread, for example, you have your semolinas and all those ones. And a lot of these foods they're prepared by refining the whole grain. Okay, so when they take the grain, maybe the grain of wheat or of corn, for example, then they have to remove the outer layer. And that is where you have a lot of the B vitamins and nutrients, yes. So what you're really getting is not the best, okay. So in essence, one needs to cut down on as much, you need to cut down a lot of these highly processed foods and go more natural.
Can one process the foods locally?
It depends. It depends if it will suit your palate, you know. So what it just means is that we need to be very careful about those. And then talking about processed foods, and then talking about processed foods, you also have your fast foods, right? All your French fries, your chicken, deep fried, all those, which are a lot of fat, you know, a lot of they use a lot of oil, and some of these baked products which have trans fats that are not good for the body. So all these things is best to reduce them to a minimum, reduce consumption to a minimum, and as much as possible, go for the natural foods. Take your fruits, take your vegetables, okay? But avoid highly processed foods.
In other words, you're saying we should go back to how our great-grandparents
Interesting, that is what things is coming to now. That's what it's turning out to be. It's healthier food.
We're using local pots, we're not using all these aluminium pots, you know, to cook foods. Yes.
Well, that's another thing for another day.
They're very healthy.
That's another thing for another day.
They live long.
Yeah, but it's best to go natural, right? And avoid reduce your intake of fast foods, highly processed foods, and refined foods. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's all we can take on the program. My name is Raula Ishangne Edet. Stay with us for another interesting topic.
Fire when it's strong, it's you.
That's it, friend? Yes.